Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hot Pole Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Steele, and joining me this week is an angel. Hello.
Hello. I have a tiny hat.
Tiny Zoom hat. How are you?
I'm good. I've just found the filters button in Zoom, so
Oh, that's hilarious.
There we go.
Oh, that is the filter that everybody wants.
Yeah.
I kind of want that, but because I'm running straight through OBS, I can't do that. But hey, how have you been?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I'm all right. Not bad. How are you doing?
I'm much better, thank you. As our viewers may be aware, last week was cancelled because not because we were cancelled, but because I was very ill with a nasty, sniffly, horrible cold. And
yeah, I was wearing a mask in the studio with him, not because I was worried about the thing, but because I just didn't want to get that cold.
yeah,
It looked nasty.
it was pretty rough. I was kind of through it by Saturday when we went and filmed boxing at an arena.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've been working on top secret stuff ever since, so I've been kind of off the radar. But it's good to see everybody again. Have I sent the wrong link on Twitter? I haven't sent anything on Twitter, so if it's been automated, let's click on that. We're on Twitter Live now, which is probably what came up on Twitter. Because now Periscope is dead. Twitter Live is now a thing, and we're live on there as well as Facebook and the Twitches. Yes.
Are we live on Twitch?
We are, because I refreshed all of that.
Okay, let's say. I love the email that they sent round saying, out of an abundance of caution, we've reset all the stream keys. Still no email saying our entire code base got dumped onto 4chan.
Yeah, nothing saying we got hacked, because they totally got hacked. 100%.
Twitch kind of didn't. They got access to the GitHub.
Oh.
So someone got access someone got access to all the private GitHub repositories and then dumped all of them on the internet, 128 gigs worth of content.
Whoa.
So essentially, if you wanted to launch a Twitch competitor, you have everything, the full uncompiled scripts and code for everything.
Wow.
It's all available.
Oh yeah, that's a nightmare, because now people can just read the code and, oh god, the vulnerabilities.
Mm-hmm.
That's rough. So yes, ouch. I've changed.
So do you change your password if you haven't already?
I did, and I also have 2-factor. So yes, oof, oof indeed. But yes, it's been a busy couple of weeks. A lot of things arrived. I've just had a speaker arrive today from Eve Audio. Ooh. A single one, because DHL and Royal Mail between them couldn't organise a party in a brewery. Because one of them, I got a letter through the door saying, you need to pay customs charges, to which it was like, okay, Eve Audio from Germany, that makes sense. I pay it. Speaker arrives today, and I'm going, well, where's the other one? And they're like, oh, don't know, mate. So I investigated, and it turned out they just hadn't sent me a letter for the other one yet.
Oh, wow.
So, great, thanks, guys. So I went out of my way to pay Royal Mail today. That was great. So hopefully next week I'll be able to start filming a video which... Have you got new eyebrows? Is that the thing?
Yeah.
Hey!
How good's that?
Yeah, that's really weird. You look like Cara Delevingne with a beard.
Yeah, well, I'm also putting different beards on me, but you can't tell.
Right, okay. Is that just because it can't find the chin line because of the beard?
Well, no, it's because it's just blending in with the beard.
Oh, right, okay.
I can subtly tell when I'm pressing it.
Oh, I can kind of see it now. But that's really weird. Color. You can make your beard beardier.
There you go. Got a slightly greyer beard.
Can we turn up Liam's volume a bit? There we go.
Oh, I can do me as well. Hello.
Okay.
Ooh, put lipstick on.
Okay, that's just a bit weird. Okay. But yeah, I've got a single speaker from Eve Audio. I've now got the production model of the IK Amplitude X Vibe. what else have I got? I've got the Arturia Mini Fuse, which I need to film a video on, and that just looks odd. And now I am expecting stuff in the mail that I can't tell you about yet, and that's always awful when I have to say that. I'm sorry.
More stuff we can't know about.
Well, that you can know about, but they can't know about.
Fair
But yeah,
enough.
one of the major projects that I've been working on finally got finished today, and that's big. I think I've already announced on the channel that I'm now a contributor full-time to the Produce Like a Pro channel with Warren Hewitt. I've announced that good. Because it's been 2 weeks, I can't keep track of where I am. Or who I am. Who am I? Chris has been texting me all day about our super secret project.
Oh, is that a super secret?
Well, it's kind of super secret. Okay. I don't know how much I've said, but we've got a big launch coming up, so let's keep it a bit super secret.
Ooh, super secret.
Yes. But yeah, everybody on the channel, well, a number of people on the channel know Chris Taylor, our other co-host. And yes, he's been working on a thing with me. So, yes, I was up till 2 a.m. last night fixing the thing. But the thing is nearly ready. Also, the neck arrived for the bass that me and the regular viewers bought at Christmas whilst we were rather drunk. So yeah, that project is turning into a full project now. I've now got a full Wenge neck with glow-in-the-dark blocks and a maple body for a 5-string bass. And so now I've got Shala tuners that have arrived at the studio. That was the tiny little box.
Okay, yeah.
And I need to now get pickups and wiring, but everything's so expensive. It was my own fault for picking a tremolo bridge. That the bridge alone is going to be 350 quid.
Ooh.
Oof, indeed.
Oof.
Because now that the body's been routed for it, I can't back out and go, you know what, I'll just get something affordable. Because there's a big gaping hole in it, and like that's where it goes. So, right then. Oh, I can see it. Oh, blimey. Immersive. What on earth is going on? We are a homunculus strapped to a chair.
Oh, I didn't realize I did it for you as well.
Yeah, I was kind of poking out the side of you. That's hilarious.
Oh, lol.
Yes, so this is our weekly news podcast, usually weekly when we're not away, where we talk about the music tech news, bit of guitar news, computery stuff when it's relevant, which has been a kind of a bit of a dry spell recently because of the global shortages of stuff. And so we talk about the news, and then we ask the audience if they'd like to have any questions answered about music production. So, without further...
I did a tech thing today for the news-wise.
Go on.
Well, Windows 11 is now available.
Oh, yes. So that's not actually on the news, but this is worth talking about, actually, that I installed Windows 11 on this computer yesterday.
I did it this morning.
And now I'm on Windows 10.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, the two things that didn't work, well, 3 things that didn't work. Firstly, the start menu didn't work half the time, which half the time so I can live with. Premiere didn't work, and OBS didn't work.
Oh. Premiere's worked fine for me.
It for whatever reason, it didn't for me. But
did you have to do the TPM thing or whatever it's called?
Yes. But that's not actually changed anything on Windows 10. I mean, that was just turning on the AMD trusted platform.
Yeah.
Which is probably supposed to be on anyway. So so I'm leaving that on because I didn't realize that was turned off because of the weird wording in the BIOS.
Yep.
It said there's a discrete TPM, which means just none.
Yeah, well, you set up the BIOS on this machine, so it was the same here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had no issues with it. And I mean, I like it. They've updated the sounds. So from a sound point of view, all the error messages and everything are not as grating. Right? They've done a good job of making it so that when something goes wrong on Windows, you like don't want to smash your computer. You're just like, okay. It's kind of more of a oopsie as opposed to you made a mistake.
I always like the because then I know. Do you remember Windows 98 where it would literally go, "Dang"? It's just like, oh, I did a fail.
One thing that is like really good is did you manage to get into the sound settings before you uninstalled it?
I didn't.
So the default sound settings, Would I be able to share my screen? Would that work or not?
I think so. I don't know if we'd see 100% of it, but we'd see the middle bit. Ugh.
So
it made it big.
There.
Yeah, so if you can move it left a bit, left a bit, left a bit. There we go. We can see it.
So this is, like in Windows 10 where they made everything like easy for people. And the sound settings were just absolutely garbage. And you had to press like 3 buttons to get to the main sound editing.
Yes.
Well, this is when you go to the bottom right and you click on sound. This is now the screen that comes up, which is much better. It has much more stuff in it.
That's really nice. If only the programs that I needed to work actually worked, I would
they will
be very
eventually,
happy.
Won't
Yeah,
they?
and they will.
At some point, you'll be on this, and yeah, I was just like, wow, they actually thought about sound for people that understand sound. Like, and yeah, you've got lots of the like left channel, right channel, and everything. Change the sound quality and whatnot from here, and I was like,
good stuff. I like that.
It's not a huge thing, but it's better than the absolute garbage that the other menu was, which was just an extra 3 clicks to get to where you needed to be.
Yeah, it was the Windows 7 control panel with a terrible veneer on top. Yeah, but yeah, as soon as it does work properly, which is probably a couple of months down the line for me, if not sooner, then I'll be going back and trying it again. But as it was, OBS didn't work, which podcast next day. So, and most of what I do off camera is generally video editing related. So if Premiere doesn't work, I don't have 2 days to troubleshoot it. So I just went, okay.
So when you say it didn't work,
as in just it came up with the white Premiere Pro screen, the boot screen, and then just hangs.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because I'm on an NVIDIA Quadro, or if it's because I've got 3 screens, or because my settings were all Windows 10 settings, or what. I don't know.
Don't know. Well,
I've
got the most recent Premiere version. I've got 3 monitors, but I'm on obviously a 3070. So
that could be it, maybe.
It's loaded up fine. Like I was editing this morning.
Whatever the reason was, I am usually quite forward thinking with tech, but for this, I had deadlines. I was burnt out on what I was doing. I thought I'll play with this for an hour. It didn't work. So it was like, okay, I'll try it again another time.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Yeah. So there you go. So yeah, let's talk about Zin News, because there's people now starting to talk about our headline article in the chat. So, click. So, this is the most metal story of a long time, and it's a very positive one. That one of the 2 guitarists from Judas Priest, Richie Faulkner, was on stage in Kentucky, last song of the set. He had a ruptured aorta.
Oh, God.
And he could feel the blood leaking into his chest.
Oh, wow, that's not nice.
The survival rate on that is almost just no.
Yeah, and, very, very small.
Yeah, and he's been discharged from hospital already.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So, of all the things, I mean, such an absolute metal badass. He could feel it happening. Didn't miss a note on the solo. Finished the song. And I mean, when I say the solo, that song is bloody hard. So he basically finished the song, and there's video of him finishing the song on this arena set stage. It was a festival. Puts his guitar down, goes off stage, and I think he just finds someone and goes, "Find me a doctor." And as luck would have it, they were 4 miles from a specialist heart hospital.
Oh God!
Wow. Yeah, so of all the places to do it, of all the times for it to happen, and
that's lucky.
What he was saying is they were supporting, I can't remember who it was they were supporting. I think I'll have to, someone will say in chat who they were supporting, I'm sure, but it was a festival and they were second on, and he said if they'd headlined and it had been a 2-hour show, he would not have made it, because he would have just tried to soldier through, because you don't know what's happening with something like that. Apparently now he knows what it was, but at the time he was just like, something doesn't feel right. And so, yeah, they made that song the last song of the set. I think they might have had another one lined up, but for the sake of one song, they just said, right, go to hospital, cut the set. And yeah, that's the kind of thing that absolutely, just most people don't see the other side of. And yeah, the Heart and Lung Centre was 4 miles away from the gig site.
Wow.
What? That's insane. Yeah, and the final irony is the song they were playing to close the set is called Painkiller. But yeah, the other thing is there's a quote from Richie. It came totally out the blue. No history of a bad heart, no clogged arteries, doesn't even have high cholesterol. So get yourselves checked. He says, because it could happen to any of us if you don't go and get your routine medical checkup.
Yeah, how old is he?
Let me check, but he's not that old.
No.
Let me find it on another page.
But that's the thing. I mean, a routine medical check isn't going to catch something like that anyway.
He's 41.
Yeah, that's young. Because I know one of my friends that's in the late 50s, early 60s. There's certain like aorta-based testing that they do in the UK when you hit certain ages. Because apparently the most common ruptured aorta-related thing is in your stomach.
Huh.
There's a not a valve, but a something in your stomach that's related to all of that part.
Huh.
And I was like, how's your heart in your stomach? And he was explaining that. I kind of half listened. But
was it some sort of connected nerve ending or something? I don't know.
Yeah, but that's what gets most people, but it's dead easy to check.
The only separate part of the stomach that I know is the pyloric sphincter. And that's because it was in Futurama. That's the bottom bit of the stomach.
News,
but yes,
he was in the right place at the right time.
Absolutely. Of all the places to be, amazing. So yeah, he's already been discharged, so he's at home in Nashville resting, as absolutely he should. And yeah, so good on him, and we hope he recovers very quickly.
On another one of those, which we obviously would have missed because last we were away, but also good news about Mark Hoppus.
Yes, cancer-free. Well done, Mark Hoppus. I mean, well done. Good on him. I wish him all the best. I can't think of the right.
He put a tweet out saying, "Remember when I had cancer? That was weird." Typical Tom.
Yeah.
So, really good news. As a lifelong Blink-182 fan, I'm very happy to see that. And I was saying to Adam in the studio, apparently throughout all of it, the kind of veiled blessing is apparently him and Tom DeLonge have kind of rebuilt their friendship. Not that they weren't speaking at all, but they are closer than ever, they said. So it's always good to hear.
I would imagine they weren't really speaking, not because they hated each other, but they just weren't in each other's circles kind of thing.
Yeah, well, they just Tom wanted to go away and do other stuff. They agreed on it. They were probably getting on each other's nerves a little bit because of it, like creative differences, but good friends. And Tom's off doing all of his UFO stuff, and Mark just wants to play pop punk. So
yeah. Oh man, I'll never forget when I went to see Angels and Airwaves. When we went and we interviewed Tom.
We interviewed Tom, yeah.
We did. But the first song of the set was basically just a big light show on the drummer, which is a million miles away from Blink-182. And yeah, Nick says, hope you're feeling better. Yes, I am. Thank you very much. I'm still a little bit grumbly with a cough, but I went to the gym earlier today, and that seems to be the end of it. For now.
Good stuff.
For now. But yes, right. Well, let's move on with the more techie news. So this one's relevant to me. IK Multimedia have just shipped the Amplitude X gear that we've been talking about for a while. They are now available, and I also now have mine, which I'm going to be filming tomorrow in the studio because now the software matches with it. There's the Librarian software, so you can save all your presets and actually load them up in Amplitude. That's now all there. So yes. Go and get them if you want. They're the ones that are kind of like the Strymon competition type things. So there we go. I'm just going to get a bit more water. And so this, Marty was saying I should mention Grove bass. This came out yesterday. This is Simon Grove, who's one of the leading young progressive metal bass players, and Submission Audio, who made Gin bass and Euro bass, some of the most successful bass instruments on the planet, have now released this in collaboration. And it doesn't have a head, and I don't know how it sounds, but I can't imagine it not sounding good because Simon Grove is a beast. So there you go. That is available. Go and buy it if you want it. It's currently probably perpetually on sale because they'll put the price up for 3 minutes and then Black Friday will happen. So existing customers get up to 30% off launch pricing as well.
Ooh.
So there you go. Moving on, another one that's relevant to me. Zoom have just made a dedicated multi-effects unit for bass called the B6. And this one looks really different. They've actually thought about bass players. Something that really kind of weirded me out. I mean, it's got 2 inputs, which is cool. So you can have 2 basses plugged in a switch, which is nice. And you can select 4 different types of DI box. 2 tube-based ones, 2 solid-state ones with a click of a button.
Oh, wow. Within the same box?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think they're models, but the fact that they've gone so far as to model the different sound of different DI boxes tells me that they're really thinking about it from a bass player perspective.
So how do you model a DI?
Well, the ideal DI, quote unquote, is perfectly linear, but then a lot of the valve ones actually have that kind of valvey character to them.
So you would basically have the input as being a super clean DI and then tweak it.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm imagining, this is a complete guess, but I'm imagining Solid State 1 doesn't do anything. It's just clean. Solid State 2 is probably like an Avalon U5, which has kind of a tonal shape to it, but is one of the more famous bass DIs. I've currently got Christian's one in our studio right now. It's the size of a small dog. Bloody big. But it's got a sound and a snap all of its own, and then different tube DIs do have different characteristics, whether it's warmer in the mids or whether it's slightly distorted but not really. And then it'll go into all the processing stuff, like, your typical drives, choruses, amps, all that good stuff. So yeah, it's an integrated pedal board. Looks like they've really thought about it. Now, whether it sounds any good or not, that's the next question. Yes. So, yeah, that very much... we'll have to wait and see how it sounds, but I might see if I know anyone who's got any contacts at Zoom, because that's the kind of thing I would very much like to try. Because it's just different from all the other usual kind of, here's a guitar effects pedal, but we put B for bass on it and change the effect a tiny little bit. Which, yeah, let's see the price point on this. Ooh. So the price point on it... Oh, it's even got impedance switches. That's really cool. So it's got 1 mega ohm and a 10 mega ohm, which will have slightly different tonal things there, which is going to go hand in hand with the DI switching. That's a clever little... Again, so the price point, it doesn't say... 500 euros. So we're talking the high end for a bass player. That's 2 or 3 really good pedals for 500 euros. So, or it's like a Helix Stomp XL. It's punching kind of... There you go. Kieran, don't take the... Okay, maybe not. Let's just put that kind of thing in a timeout. Thank you. So, let's move on. Here's something I never thought I would say. I really want an interface from Universal Audio. So, they've just announced a new... Yeah, the guys at UAD, who I have ranted about for many, 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 many years at this point, have made a new range called the Vault. And it seems to me like they've really listened to what the budget market wants. So there are 5 different interfaces here. So there's the Vault 1 and the Vault 2, which have 1 and 2 inputs respectively. And then they've got the 176, 276, and 476. Now these are what really caught my eye. See if I can pull the picture up. So this is the 476. So I'm guessing 2 of the inputs are on the back on this one because it's just wider. So the reason I like these, the 76, my favourite compressor is the 1176, which is a Universal Audio product. That is one of their claims to fame before they did UAD, is they make that. And also one of my favourite preamps ever is the Universal Audio 610, which is an all-valve preamp. That and 1176 together sound absolutely wonderful. So what they've done, I don't know whether it's modelling or whether it's hardware, but the cost indicates that this may be in hardware. There are buttons for these that have vintage mode, which enables it to sound like the 610, and then they have a 76 compressor button with vocal guitar fast and off per channel. And that, because it's not the UAD modelling, it's not software, it's in the unit, that really interests me. Because the price points here are quite compelling. So the Vault 1 and Vault 2 are 140 and 190 euros each. So think roughly dollars plus sales tax plus maybe a little extra, and you're roughly in the right ballpark for dollars. The 176 is $249, which is quite a steep jump, and then the 276 is $300, and the 476 is $369. So it's only a small jump to the 476. I don't think you get 4 channels of the vintage preamps and the models and stuff. You get an extra 2 kind of clean, boring inputs, but if that's what you need, that's what you need. And that really puts it in contention. That's still a lower price than anything that UA have ever released. And they're the 2 things I would want, is a really nice valve, or at least valve sounding channel, and a 76 compressor. Now, it's not going to be a perfect recreation of an 1176. They're going to have to cut a corner somewhere, because a big part of the appeal of the sound of a 76 is the big transformers. And those are made of iron, and those are expensive. And that's part of the reason why a big box 76 will still set you back by $1,000+, because the big lumps of iron that are around the circuit, they cost a big part of that. I mean, there's other things that also cost big parts of that, but so, right. That, I mean, everybody who watches the channel will know that I really I'm loyal to Audient at this point, just because they've been really nice to me and their equipment is genuinely really good. But if I sat in a studio like a project room and someone had one of these, I probably wouldn't be piping up and saying, you really need to get rid of this and get something by. Whereas there are other brands where that's kind of, when I'm friends with people, that's the kind of thing that I say. Depending, but there are some brands at certain price points that make stuff that doesn't justify its price point. These, I don't know, because I've not actually had one in my hands yet. So the non-76 ones do still have the vintage mode in, which tells me it is some sort of modelling, because you're doing that at 189 euros for the entire thing with 2 channels of vintage. Considering the 610, which is one of my favourite preamps, is big and has valves in it and transformers and all sorts of stuff, it's not that, but it's aiming to recreate that sound. But it's not using the Universal Audio Unison or the UAD stuff, which pleases me greatly, because it means that I could use UA stuff and not be roped into the UAD ecosystem.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. So there's no software limitation on them at all.
No.
You can use it with whatever.
Yeah, but I think the only way to use that compression and that kind of thing, as I'm assuming, is when you track. So the only other way to get that kind of in hardware is to come out of outputs 3 and 4 while you mix in and feed it back into 1 and 2. So you could do that. I mean, if you want that kind of hardware compression 76 thing and you're mixing, you could have 2 channels of that going on. All that would take is a couple of cables going from the back to the front. I'm sure that would be possible. But yeah, I mean, something I just never thought I'd say is, oh, how look at this. Universal audio, an interface I'm interested in. I mean, I've always said that UAD make hardware, or Universal Audio make hardware interfaces that have great quality. I've never said they don't, but the fact that they kind of cajole you into the UAD ecosystem is the bit I always had a problem with. So if that's not the case, and it seems like it's not here, that's great. I've seen a few people on Facebook already saying, oh, well, if it's not got UAD stuff, I'm out. And it's like, yeah, but look at the price point, dude. If you want the UAD stuff, they do things called the satellites, and they do PCI cards, which cost the difference between one of these and, the Apollo interface or something like that. If you really want to go that route, nobody's stopping you. It just means that you're not then tied to this audio interface anytime you need the processing doing. Which is also a big deal for me, because that was always my money aside. My issue with proprietary processing is that if you're not at that exact computer with that exact hardware, it won't work. But yeah, if this gets people out of that mindset, at least, and into the using native plugins, then great. If the audio quality is good, and I mean, hopefully at this price point, it's good for what that price point is. I have no reason to suspect it wouldn't be. Design's getting better and better every year. Then yeah, we'll see. Now, Scott from Chernobyl says, my knees are calloused, bowing down to the amazing Audient. Awesome. So here's one from Shure that's kind of like this mic here, but kind of not. The new Shure MV7X has been released, which is, as it says, a no hassle, no frills podcast microphone. So this is their podcast priced answer to the SM7B, which anyone who's done podcasts for many, many years will know that the SM7B is one of the go-to standards. It looks...
What's the other one that you've got? What's the one you've got right there?
This is the MV7.
Right, so it's an X different to this.
Yes, and that's the news article, is I am leading on to this. The SM7B is a great sounding microphone, but it has XLR out and nothing else. The MV7 has inbuilt compression and inbuilt USB and all that kind of stuff, and costs 300 and something euros. They've now come out with the MV7X, which goes back to the idea of just having XLR out and nothing else. But the price point, 169. So significantly less than both the SM7B and the MV7. If you already have a setup like something like a Rodecaster Pro, or if you've already got someone who's going to be mixing the whole thing, and you don't want to spend stupid amounts of money on an MV7 over and over and over and over, you can save significant money by having this, which I guess is just kind of the capsule and the sound of it coming straight out, but without having to pay all the SM7B money. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, the MV7X does not use the same capsule as the SM7B. It uses the same capsule as one of these, which is... It sounds like this. Sounds pretty good. I mean, yes, this has got it's got some compression and auto leveling turned on inside the microphone right now, which is very cool, but I could do all of that as just VST effects in OBS. I can do that in Reaper or whatever it is in post-production. The fact that this does it all is great. I like it. I like it a lot, but I don't need any of it. So depending on what your needs are, if you want something that's simple, plugs in with a USB cable and just go, you probably want the MV7. If you want the absolute top dog, you probably want the Rode PodMic. They are 99 euros.
So do you think then that... So this is like 70 quid more. Is it 70 quid better?
Oh, I don't know. I would have to side-by-side compare them.
That'd be a good thing to do.
It would. I'll see if I can get Shaw to send one over. because that would be a very cool thing to have, and to compare, because that one that you're using there sounds great.
Yeah.
So that is a question. That is a big question. I know from comparing things back to back that the Rode does have a specific sound to it, but most people don't care. It sounds great, and that's the end of it. But if you want that Shure sound, you probably pay the Shure tax. It's kind of like the Apple tax,
Yeah.
I mean, how much does an SM58 actually cost to make? And they sell them at 100, 120. But it's the Shure tax. You know what you're getting. So, yeah, it's one of those things where...
Yeah, I'm guessing you wouldn't say that mic is properly priced.
Not that it's a bad mic, but I just think it's a little over the odds.
Yeah.
For what it actually is. But then, yeah, people go to it because it doesn't let them down. My personal thoughts on their sound quality aside, because I've made a video about that and it makes a lot of people angry.
Yeah, I mean, because I kind of feel like, especially with the SM7 specifically, it's a bit like 24 frame a second video in that it's what you're used to. Like, films look like film at 24 frames, not because it's better, but because it's what you know. And the SM7 sound is a bit like that, especially for radio and podcasting. It sounds like how you expect it to sound, like you're saying. It sounds professional because it sounds like everyone that uses it, which is pretty much everyone.
Yes. Well, it is the self-fulfilling prophecy at that point, isn't it? That you come to expect that sound. I mean, my favourite sound... my favourite voiceover sound is from an Electro Voice RE20. But those things are $400 plus dollars, euros, whatever, for one of those. And you need a preamp that can really crank the volume back up because they're really quiet because of the way that they're designed. But they just sound like that big American radio voice thing.
SM7s are not cheap though, are they?
No, they're not. They're $350. But as a studio guy, I would buy the SM7 first because it's got a lot of uses that you expect to use it in.
Yeah, macro guitars and all that stuff with it.
Yeah. I mean, you can do a lot of that with an RE20, and a lot of people use RE20s on bass cabs a lot because they have quite a kind of a neutral sound, but with a full low end. But not kind of a pillowy, blown out low end. But again, the price point means that you kind of have to justify it. Where I've always liked an underdog, and that's why I don't have one, just because I've ended up with companies and gear from people that we've got to know, but even before that, stuff that sounds great and works at a price point. So, yeah. If I had infinite budget, I'd probably have 2 or 3 RE20s in the studio, but that's not how life works. So, yeah. To be continued. Now, moving on. Slate Digital finally released MetaTune, which is kind of, they are now officially taking a dump on Auto-Tune. I tried it this week. It's really good.
Yeah?
It's not quite Melodyne, but even Stephen Slate himself said, if you're working on something that's really complex and needs Melodyne, use Melodyne. Yeah. So he's already said, you know what, it's not for that. And so props to them for just holding their hands up and saying, if you want an automatic tuner, we think we've made the best. If you want to do it manually, we're not replacing that. And I think that's worth saying, that they've already come out and said, we're never going to change that.
So is this designed for essentially putting on every vocal that's a good vocal to make it?
I would have thought so, yeah.
Yeah, so designed to not really sound like auto-tune, just to make it sound like, again, like people are saying, that sound you mentioned, it's like airbrushing photos for when the person you're taking a photo of is really pretty. You still have to make it look like people expect a photo to look like.
Absolutely. I mean, you can still do the fake thing with this. You can do the robot.
I get that, but you could do that with just normal auto-tune, whereas
but they've got this new thing called the note stabilizer. You ever heard a really badly auto-tuned thing where someone's on a note and they go down, it starts to kind of wobble? So they've now got the note stabilizer technology, which stops that happening. If it works out what the note is, it will stick on that note. which is very clever. There's a latency switch as well, so if you're mixing, you don't need to do that, and it'll be better at stabilizing the note, but you can kind of use it live as well. But it's also got a built-in doubler, which really sounds good, which makes it sound like you've got two singers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and it goes from subtle to crazy. But also the thing that really caught my eye is it's got groups on the side. So what you can do, let's say you've got a vocal and like 6 backing vocals. You can drop a metatune on all of them, put them in the same group, and then all the settings will move together. And also then all the kind of tuning will move together. So if you've got a note stabilizer on, you won't get kind of wobbles in one when it knows the notes haven't changed on all the others.
Cool.
Very cool. Because that really starts to get us out of the realms of share and into the realms of actual usable. So, yeah, if I can find some time, I'm going to be doing a video on this next week. Because it's very, very cool. It's something I'll probably not use that much because I'm trying to get away from tuning in the genres that I tend to work in. And I use Melodyne where it's needed and try and not use anything if I can help it. But again, that depends on artistic interpretation. But if I was working on K-pop all the time, I'd absolutely hammer this thing.
Yeah, but I mean, just having it sort of like subtly on, just like, I don't know. Do you not feel that just having it on a bit, just to polish things a little bit?
Very much depends on the genre. Like I said, if it's something where I'm doing it's really like noise rock, then the actual out of tuneness might be okay. But I play it by ear every time. I see what you're saying, but I wouldn't have it on by default. Because if it does provide any artifacting in there at all and the artist catches on to it, that will upset them. But it's a conversation to be had, and it's like I try and listen to the whole thing of this whole song first, and then if it's like, well, that note goes a little bit sharp but it's artistic, that's okay. But it's like, no, you're nowhere near, buddy. Then yeah.
Also, maybe for like, I don't know, if people had a very long session,
they
just can't, they're getting tired. So here you go. Here's a free coffee digitally.
Yeah, it does happen. Now,
I mean, going back to for the studios that do a lot of recordings of the general public, it would definitely be a go-to.
But yeah, it's very very much something that we have conversations with our artists about, because it's a contentious topic. But the fact that this tool is a better tool than the tool I had is always something that I'm going to be happy about. And the fact that I've not had to pay for it as well, because it comes as part of this late bundle, it's just there. That's great. And it means I don't have to pay any monthly money to Antares for Auto-Tune, because sod that. I'm not paying them more than the entire slate bundle for a thing that's not even the best version of that thing.
No.
So, yeah, there you go.
It still fascinates me how people become so personally attached to their voice, which is still just an instrument. Like, you can tune a guitar, you can't necessarily tune your voice fully in a studio. And if you played the wrong note and someone was told you need to do it again, or was just going to tweak it in an edit, no one have an issue with it. But tweaking someone's voice afterwards, people get very personal about it, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just the nature of singing. Like, everyone's like, it's the one thing people would be embarrassed about singing. Like, even if they can't sing, it's like, if you've never had a guitar lesson, no one expects you to be able to play guitar. Like,
yeah,
very
but
strange.
you can tune a fish. So, moving on. Here's one for the real nerds. RTL Utility has just got an official release. Now, RTL means round trip latency. I hear so many people who are looking into things like interfaces and setups going, well, what's the round trip latency? What's the latency like? And this from Oblique Audio will now give you definitive numbers. Because something a lot of people may not know is that when you've got an interface, we set a sample buffer in the number of samples, and a lot of DAWs will then give us a number of what it thinks is going to be the latency which is kind of how long it's going to take if I make a sound from when that gets processed and comes back out through the speakers. Generally, less is better at the expense of processor performance. Yes, but how actual long is that can be misreported a lot of the time. Some people who make the audio interfaces, they kind of twist the truth a little bit, or they don't care, or it's just not accurate for whatever reason. And so you can use this. You actually connect one channel's input to another channel's output, and you press a button, and it gives you proper, real numbers. And like, here's a really good example where it seems to be dead on that Motu, Mark of the Unicorn, have this is a good example where they've got in and out on an ACO driver. It's reported as being 486 samples of latency, and they've measured it at 485 samples. I'd say that's close enough to be accurate, but I've seen some that are way out. But sometimes you just don't know what's adding to latency. I had an issue once that I discovered to my horror, that I've got different preamp banks in my studio. I've got different converters in my studio, and they're all mishmashed together through an RME interface. And you would think audio turns to the digital, comes in, they all arrive at the same time. No, they don't. And how it turns out is that different audio to digital converters have their own latency, and then turning something into an ADAT signal, for example, can have its own latency. But they're different latencies depending on what equipment you're using. And this is just latency added in the preamps and in the converters, not even anything to do with the interface. And if they're all the same, it's not a problem. But let's say you're recording a drum kit and you've got different channels going into different gear and they all come in at slightly different times. It can end up sounding wrong.
Yep.
You can end up with these kind of misalignment problems, even though you got your ruler out and made everything perfect in the analog world. And so using something like this, you can then discover the truth about your different pieces of gear and whether they separately are causing you issues. So I've learned now, if I'm doing something like, let's say I'm recording a piano, I have to put all the microphones through the same preamp bank or the same set of converters, because then I know it's all going to come in same time.
Yep.
That kind of thing, that equips me now in knowing how to deal with potential issues. So yeah, there you go. It's free to use for Mac OS and Windows from Oblique Audio. Yeah, it's donationware, so if you really find it useful, do throw them a small donation, but otherwise, there you go. Now, last but not least, Warm Audio. In lieu of Behringer Corner, I'm going to have a pop at Warm Audio instead. So Warm
Corner.
Warm Corner. Oh dear. Go and sit in the Warm Corner. That's... The WA8000 is a replica of the Sony C800G, which is one of my favourite microphones ever and is hideously expensive, so I don't own one. It came out in 1992, although I do believe the original, the prototype came out a couple of years before, and Mariah Carey was the demo artist who did the song Vision of Love with this brand new microphone. And it sounds incredible. It's one of my favourite recordings pretty much ever. There's too much reverb on it, but otherwise it just sounds spot on. The reason it's got this big fat lump of a thing on the back is that the valve in the Sony microphone ran so hot they needed to attach a Peltier cooler on the back to do like phase change cooling to keep the thing from overheating.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you'll know a real Sony C800G in any studio in the world because it's this big black mic with a big lump hanging off the back of it.
Oh, wow.
Fairly unmistakable if you know what you're looking for, because it's the only microphone I've ever seen like that that's got this big fat lump coming off the back. They sound incredible, in my opinion. A lot of hip-hop, especially the female vocals on hip-hop from 92 to now, has been done with the Sony C800G. It just seems to be the mic that it's got that brightness about it that makes it stand out in hip hop, but it's not harsh. There's some kind of magic about it, but when it's $10,000, you would expect that. But yeah, Warm Audio have come out with kind of Wish version C800G. And it's got a lump on the back, and it's got a AU6 tube in it and a Lundal transformer. Might sound good. It's not a very big lump on the back, though. So it doesn't need a proper Peltier cooler by the look of things, because a Peltier cooler is significantly larger than that. It's got a self-noise level of 15 dBA, which is reasonable. And for what it is, it should be reasonable. But for a Valve mic, that's quite low. The actual real Sony one has an even lower noise floor than that, which for a Valve microphone is ridiculous. But again, $10,000. They put that in the design. Comes with its own power supply, of course. The Warm Audio one is €1,349. Which is still not cheap by a long way, but compared to the real Sony, it is kind of we have C800 at home. So yeah, that was the news. Now, I'm stiff. I've been going to the gym for the past month-ish now, and I feel like a human again. I'm actually sat slightly out of frame because my posture's better, and I've not actually reframed anything. So I have to do that. There we go. And there we go. Sit further down. But yes, I've been throwing heavy weights around, and because of the nature of my job, as it were, it is still a job. I get to be able to go at times where most people are still at work. So that's quite good, because come 6 o'clock, we get all the 5:30 we get all the big beefy oosh lads coming in, and then at 6 o'clock all the swimming lessons start in the pool. So I get to avoid all that. But yeah, I've been playing a lot recently. I've got another show on Saturday, which is exciting. I'm playing not a wedding. I'm playing a party where we've got bandioki, which is if you've ever wanted to be a really kind of on the ball musician, it's the most exhilarating thing, because people will walk up to you, mostly drunk, whilst you're playing another song, and say, "Can we sing this song?" And you've got to not only remember how that song goes, but then at the end of the song you're currently playing, you announce their name, get them on stage, then they badly sing along to the song you've just conjured up out of your brain, which you didn't have any prep time for, whilst making sure the guitarist is playing the same song. Drummer's fine. Drummers can just bash it out. And then keeping an eye on the singer who's probably never sung in front of anybody before, and be ready at a moment's notice to jump in and sing the words with them. It's a test, but it's a good test. It's like because there's the unknown element in there. Oh boy, keeps you sharp. I've got new wireless units from Sennheiser in my rack as well, which I'm very excited to use. I just released the video on the Evolution Wireless Digital, and they've now sent me a second one, which is incredible. So that's now going to be for my bass, and I get to play around with their smart app and do a bit more footage on how that works, because it automatically uses Bluetooth on everything to assign channels, which is crazy. Very impressive. Anyone in the chat? Because I see quite a few of you watching. Hello, everybody. Anybody got any music tech production questions? Harry in the Discord, while we're waiting for that, was asking me when the next live stream is going to be for mixing. Now, I got my VSX replacements, so I'll be back on that very soon. I've been dealing with the super secret projects for the last few weeks, and been ill, of course, but I am planning on getting back to live mixing probably next Monday, and continuing on with the Mesetto album, which is probably 80% done at this point. But actually having been away from it for so long, for several weeks now, I'll probably have a better perspective on it. Which is something that when you're mixing an album, you generally don't have that luxury. You've just got to kind of go and just deliver it and hope that the band likes it. Yeah, so yeah, that will be on Monday. I'll get to play with my new toys. Might even play with Metatune. We'll definitely play with any new plugins that I have at that point. See if Plugin Alliance announce anything before then. They probably won't because they had that studio flood, so they're probably still kind of held back a little. But I'm trying to think what else new I've got. I think that Metatune's the one for now that's the real new one. I've got the Grindstein plugin from Audient and Christian Kohler, and I've now got Ampcraft from Kazrog, which came out this week, which I'm very excited to give a proper demo to. I've got just up here my real PV5150 and Kazrog's Ampcraft. I've played with it a little. It sounds exactly like it to me. I'm very impressed, so I'm going to be doing a video about that too.
Ooh.
Yeah. Gary says, Bandioki says, sounds like my idea of hell, especially without a limited song list. Yes, well, it's the first time I did it, it was hell, and now after several times, I actually find it quite refreshing because it's like when you're doing archery and someone says, right, now do it on horseback with a moving target. It's like, okay, now we're going up a level. But because they're all slightly drunk, nobody cares how badly it goes. As long as you've got the musical sensibility and fortitude to keep the band at least kind of together, then that's a skill in itself. And that's a skill that not enough musicians talk about, really, is being able to keep the band in one piece no matter what happens. Yeah. I don't think I've seen everybody since I last played the show 2 weeks ago, have I?
No.
Yeah, right. That was the last thing I did before I got seriously ill. Was I played a show, and it was a 4-piece, and it was amazing because I got to do 4-part harmonies, 4-part harmonies with competent musicians. It's heaven. Yes, it was the best thing, and I got to use my nice new mic, and I've got a new rack with all my stuff in. I kind of got the rack back together that I used to tour with, that people have seen on the channel before. But now it's got more cool gear in it. So yes, looks like nobody's asking any questions. So I think that brings our podcast to a close.
Well, we've made it to 9 o'clock, so that's not too bad.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for watching. Life quote from Liam right there. We made it to 9 o'clock. That's not too bad. That'll be the headline of the podcast when I upload it. So thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you all in the next podcast, same time next week. And also, I'll see you on the channel. Bye! Hey everyone, that might be the end of the video, but if you fancy carrying on this conversation, we have a Discord server, link is in the description. We're also on Patreon, which is something you can really help us with. We also are on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Hop Hole Studios. See you there!